The true culprit. Even if I wasn't saw. Oh, this is a... We already read this, so... Okay. Pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, the young lad in black. Furthermore, a visual research of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Okay, so that's the end. What do you think, Yunosuke? What's the matter? I can't find anything. I can't find a clear discrepancy anywhere. I'm done for. I can't win this trial. No. No, no, no. Oh, that was Yunosuke. Listen, the first thing to do is calm down. You can't expect a witness's statement to be full of holes every time. So just take your time and try to tease more information out of them first. What do you mean? You can choose to either press or present against each of the witness's statements. If a witness is saying something you're suspicious about, press him on it with L. With a little luck, we get more details which could prove to be crucial. Right, I see. The important point is, there's no sense in holding back. If anything even slightly jars with you, press the witnesses on it, and press them hard. Alright, got it. I'll press them like blocks of tofu. The professor wasn't alone in the restaurant, I'm sure of it. In one way or another, the cross-examination is going to prove I'm right. It's time to press them for all they're worth. My fate depends on it. Alright, let's go for it.
Yes!
No, no, no! It's not the same thing at all! For a start, I didn't fire that gun. We have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion of a uniformed officer versus that of a fledged cadet. I don't think so. Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked. Did you? Did you see it? Did you see me blink? How could I? And yet, it is an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it. Have what? Attention! The sound of the firearm rang in my ears in the very next moment. I saw you waving the gun at the Englishman. I think that says it all. Don't you? Let us not forget that the antiques dealer witnessed the accused in its most incriminating position as well. Isn't it so, Korekuta-san? Well, he was looking for his coin, right? Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was, the young lad in black. That much I myself did see. Yes! Did you? Yes, it may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I told you already, that's only because I picked it up off the floor. Well, obviously, as the culprit, that's the only way you could explain it away. I had just finished drinking my coffee, and I was about to leave the restaurant when I noticed the gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. At exactly that moment, a gunshot rang in my ears. Full of events beyond our control, life is. Sorry? What do you mean? In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas conversely, I failed to pick up the koban from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as a result. Anyway, the fact remains, myself, I did see you, with pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner. Furthermore, okay, so visual sure the person confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Okay. Well, we're gonna press on everything, right? Ooh. So let's go back to this.
Yes!
You must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there.
Objection!
As you have been at pains to point out time and again. I feel I'm growing callous in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman. If only there'd been more people dining there at the time, then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when that happened. The quiet time between lunch and dinner in any restaurant. I know. Of course the place was almost empty. It's what you'd expect.
Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at the time of day, and why he was alone.
Yes, Your Excellency, there was indeed a reason. There was? This was found in the victim's jacket pocket.
What is that, Counsel?
It is a medical report card, Your Excellency. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at the clinic prior to visiting the restaurant.
Hotta Clinic?
Yes, there would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. 19th November,
noon to past 1 p.m.
The very day of the incident. So the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on the case.
I wonder. What do you think, Yunosuke?
Well, it is hard to see how it could be related, really.
Remember, you can request it for it to be entered in the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful.
Should I ask for Dr. Wilson's medical report card?
Yes.
Yes!
If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency. On what grounds? The court has already heard conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern.
Objection!
Whether or not they are of concern is up for us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues.
I beg your pardon?
You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request.
Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's a most disturbing trend.
Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record.
Alright. A medical report card from the Hotta Clinic was found in the victim's pocket. Well, we better take a look at that. Right. Oh, I can't look at it, I guess? Maybe I can look at it later. Okay, we can look at the people at least in this conversation. I want to read all these really quick. Kazuma Asogi, a second year at the Imperial Yume University. He's my best friend, and despite being a student, a qualified defense lawyer as well. Yujin Mikotoba, a medical school professor at the Imperial Yume University. He's an authority in forensic medicine and Kazuma's mentor. Tagetsuchi Aochi, the lead prosecutor of this case, who would appear to have little love for the changes the Cultural Reformation has brought about. John H. Wilson, the victim in this case, he was visiting a professor at the medicine at Yume University from the British Empire. Satoru Hosonaga, the head waiter of the European-style restaurant La Carnival. He was serving there on the day of the incident. Iesa Noza, the army sergeant of the Empire of Japan who witnessed the incident. Kyuryo Korekuta, the owner of Draste, who was hunting for a lost Hoei-era gold koban coin at the time of the incident. Okay. Cool. Right now what we need is clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right. I hear you. You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival. Already for you. Or perhaps you had forgotten that these witness testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Korekuta-san.
Yes!
Okay, just gotta keep pressing. So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? Get some water? Oh. The voice acting is like a little bit hard on my throat, but it's okay, I'm having fun. The victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone.
That I did. Forgive me for the position I place you in. So the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support their statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there is only a single beef steak on the victim's table, a meal for one. No. The antiques dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible that they're all lying. But if so, then why? If I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea. Okay, so I want to look at, okay. So we can't tell if anything's there in this photo. Just wanted to check.
Yes!
Why aren't you telling the truth? What did you say, cadet? I clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed. But for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Unfortunately for you, defendant Naruhiro, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right. Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady. But if such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. If no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time. There's nothing I can say to that. Excellent work, Junosuke. We've gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes. This is a brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. Oh! You didn't let me examine it, game. I understand. Why now? How exactly? You'll notice that some pieces of evidence bear a magnifying glass. These are the ones you may examine. Press A and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Use the yardstick. Ooh, okay. To rotate the evidence in all directions and examine it from all angles. Using the left stick. You can move the crosshairs around to hunt for clues that may have been missed before. If the crosshairs start to pulsate, press A to investigate further. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. I need to use R, L, and A to inspect the areas of evidence that look suspicious. Required for every visit. John Wilson, Hota Clinic. It says Hota Clinic on this medical report card. I hate clinics almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Aren't they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I've ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I'd had to have this hideous injection in my right arm. Ugh. I'll never forget it. Never in my whole life. Most people would give their right arm to have only one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Let's keep looking for clues. We don't want to miss anything. Okay. We can flip it around. Interesting art. Dentist, Hota Clinic. Date. There's no date on it. Looks like this medical report card was first issued quite some time ago. It's probably a record of long-term treatment, that's why. With a family doctor, I imagine. Well, I can't imagine. Going to a doctor, I mean. As long as I'm alive, I'm never consulting one. Well, if you were dead, there'd be no point. So, you don't like doctors then? Why would you? They make you drink horrible tasting medicine, they give you painful injections, and then they demand lots of money from you for the privilege. All when you're at your lowest ebb. You sound like a model patient. With a bad case of stubbornness, no less, for which the only cure is very bitter medicine indeed. Ah ha ha. He never made it to the clinic, I bet. So what's this one? Let's have a look. This is some kind of medical history. Ah, and there's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar? You mean he had a tooth taken out? It would seem so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they use laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. Although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you from feeling pain. Ah, there's a cautionary note from the medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink besides water for 3 hours post-procedure until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. On the day of the murder, the victim had undergone dental treatment and had been prohibited from eating or drinking anything but water. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. So I think it's time to listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. Okay. So let's see. Furthermore, the visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. He was dining all by himself, so he couldn't have been dining all by himself because the steak was eaten. So someone else must have eaten it, right? Because in his own picture, he didn't eat his steak, but in this picture, someone had. Well, I guess technically you can't tell in this picture, but this picture definitely shows that someone's eaten it. So I guess we can submit this here.
Yes!
Oh, did I mess up? No, I messed up. No. Perfectly reasonable to me. Exactly, perfectly reasonable in every way. Perhaps you should take the leaf out of the witness's book and learn to be more reasonable yourself, Al. Alright. I just need to calm down and think everything through again from the start. No one other. Dining all by himself. Oh, I guess I should present the medical record instead. Let's try that.
Yes!
Haha! Well, I think, what are you wondering about, lad? You call yourself a lawyer? I wish I could, but first and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryunosuke. Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in the cross-examination you just carried out. When you raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully, you knew exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. Alright. And thanks for the advice. Kurikuta-san. This is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Ah, I see. And I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what is written on this report card with your witness statement. Something clearly doesn't add up.
Objection!
Dear me. Have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur? Sorry, what? You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel. But let's see if I can explain in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m. in the afternoon when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may have not done before that time is completely irrelevant. But that's, Remember, Ryunosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point. Your Excellency,
believe we're finished here. There is surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court have heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides this pale-faced pupil who... This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that? What? That outburst have petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant? Perhaps because Hota Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic. A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me? Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted. What's this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating. Just what are you trying to say, Cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. What? No, that can't... Korekuta-san. What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Because the victim, as we now know, had just one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Ah! Expertly done, partner.
Objection!
What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic? How dare you? I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant case have turned. Wouldn't you agree, Junosuke? Yes, most definitely. So having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who in fact was eating in the pictured beef steak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel. Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, to answer this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of you turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. So, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been an as yet unknown third party. Obviously, it could only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table.
Objection!
You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person.
Yes!
There was, because I saw her when the incident occurred. We know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything, yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else there eating it. We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witnesses' testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we will lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial, relentlessly. Kazuma, are you insane? You would take on the government? Don't worry, counsel. I have no issue with you. What do you mean? I have issue with them, the two witnesses in the stand. What? What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it now turns out that the two of you deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously, you will be charged with perjury. Perjury? And, since this is a murder trial, you will also be deemed complicit in the killing. Complicit in murder? No! Negative! There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders.
That's right. It's as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman. That's what they, told us. Oh.
What? What did you say? Kurakuta-san?
No.
You were just following orders?
Now hold on, lad. I was,
Say you never saw the gentlewoman?
uh,
When you say gentlewoman, do you mean you saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
what is the meaning of all this? These witnesses, they gave false statements? Is this true, you pair?
Look at him shaking. Just one. Just one simple flip of the tongue. Order. Order. Counsel, explain what is going on here. It's painfully clear now. You try to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth.
Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this.
Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? That's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You wouldn't. This can't be happening. Yunosuke, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Ouchi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. I'm just so glad there's a pain in this game. Ha 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 ha. His name is Ouchi. It could have only been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Maybe the, waiter. Of course, we'll need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever it was really did wield his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? Before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything and make sure there's nothing we've missed. Yeah, examine everything. There's no time to lose. I want answers. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe.
Please, wait, Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I do nothing.
And what does the defense have to say about all this? Well, Your Excellency. No time to think. I'm just going to have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes to my head. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is... So influences? So then it has to be this guy, right? Medical professor? I mean, I don't think the waiter seems like the right answer, but it needs to be a person of influence, right?
besides prosecution. This doesn't make sense. I'm just gonna say the waiter.
Yes!
Okay. Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier?
Objection!
Poppycock! What possible reason would the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence.
For once, I would agree with you. If, that is, the man truly were a waiter. Haha, oh, I see. I mean, I guess the main point is that we could just figure that out was that the waiter also said that he didn't see anyone, so. What?
If he truly were.
Come on, Ryunosuke, time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga-san's real identity is proven by this evidence. Okay, so we gotta examine this really quick. Now we can actually flip it around. Uh-huh. Okay, so let's just check this, because I don't think there's anything. Well, let's just observe it, I guess. This plan of the restaurant raises a number of questions, I think. Definitely. It's supposed to show the relative position of everything in the moments following the incident. But there's nothing to show the woman you say... To show the woman you say you saw there. Exactly, and that's not all. Look here in the upper left, where it says kitchen. Hmm? Oh yes. What of it? No one would use those complicated characters to write kitchen, especially not if they were in a hurry. I mean, you don't remember those characters yourself? Do you? Study harder, Ryunosuke. Ha 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 ha. Okay. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. So he's a cop, I guess? Or detective. Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look. Do you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. It's not the name that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. But let's face it, the police have a lot of power and influence. They're wielding it somehow here. On the front, it's stated that Hosonaga-san is a police inspector. Okay. So now we can present this.
Yes!
With new information. The plan of the restaurant, sketched by the man in question. I agree, it shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency, that's the back of the card. It's the back. The back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Would somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say? Hosonaga-san, sketch the plan of his face. Sketch the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of this business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession. His true profession. The waiter's profession? But that's surely... Good gracious! That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau.
What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before?
The Imperial Police Bureau has immense power. Absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witness is there in the stand. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Oh. The waiter? Oh, yeah, he did. Inspector Hosonaga?
was worried something like this may happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. And then we saw how nervous he was when he didn't want to hand it over. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It's my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake.
So, you mean to say you really are a detective?
But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Ah, of course, you're telling me you must be I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes. There have been a series of incidences at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidences at the restaurant? What kind of incidences? Incidents. That would be classified police information, which I'm not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. Very well then, Inspector Hosono. But you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We have just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. If that is indeed true, clearly you would have also been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner, therefore I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. That be correct? Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable! As I suspected. As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be an Englishwoman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant and reported the incident to the bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say, remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once? It was made clear that the Englishwoman's presence at the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was a killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interest not to pursue that idea. The Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman as the primary suspect? Well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the phantom woman in this case. But it's not right! One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? Yuma University is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain, and I'm fairly certain that one of them, studying in the medical facilities research laboratory, is a young English woman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. And the court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Giselle Brett. She is indeed a foreign student studying in the research facility of Yumi University's medical facility. What?
What is happening here?
I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all this evidence of this lady's presence at once, and ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in her testimonies. It must now be up to Your Excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point.
Objection!
Your Excellency, that would mean missing the noon deadline of the ruling order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be displeased by such actions.
Calm yourself, counsel. I will not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom. Inspector Hosonaga. Yes, sir. You will locate this Jezebel Brett and escort her to the courtroom with utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency.
But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau.
As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So, it won't be a problem? Nothing will get in my way. Court will adjourn briefly. The prosecution must call the English student, Giselle Brett, to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear?
Yes. Your Excellency.
Good. Then we will have a 30-minute recess before reconvening.
To be continued. Wow. Save the progress. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun. This is so cool. Oh, I can't wait till we get super into it. I wonder if we're gonna do any investigating. 22nd November, 11:38 a.m. Supreme Court of Adjudicature, Defendant's Antechamber 5. Excellent word, Yunosuke. That was superb. My heart was in my mouth the entire time. It was almost unbelievable. I mean, looking at you in there. You were drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight, but before I knew it, we'd started finding inconsistencies in testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Forget it, it's terrifying. If I go through this, I don't ever want to see the inside of a courtroom again. Anyway, looks like we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Miss Giselle Brett, a student from Great Britain. That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have. Haven't you? I might not be overly confident in the courtroom, but my powers of observation are one thing I'm sure of. Yes, I can see that. So, about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she is hastily escorted away from the scene, it seems. She was hastily. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was just on my way out of the restaurant myself. Then, on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table, I noticed there was a gun lying on the floor. And just after I bent down and picked it up,
didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over to me, looking as white as a sheet. And he bundled me into some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Fast thinking by the detective, he apprehended his suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, and because I was shut in the pantry, I had no idea what happened outside the dining area. You just got shoved in the pantry? Ah, there you are. Well done, both of you. Professor Mikotoba. Well, it seems I was right. The pair of you make an outstanding team. You exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, it seems you planned this from the start. You arranged it so that I wouldn't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. Our modern country is still in its infancy. Our justice system even more so. Which is why I firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn all they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tour to Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference. Lawyer or otherwise, I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend. If I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis of his life, I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway. What? What are you saying, Kazuma? So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way. Kazuma! Well then, it looks like it all comes down to you, young man. To me? Yes. You need to prove your innocence and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, very much want to know the truth. After all, I have a personal connection to this case. Come to think of it, you said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't you? If you don't mind me asking, Professor, did you know the victim? Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at UMA, and it was I who invited him. Oh, I see. I didn't know that before. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. The victim was a university professor from Great Britain, and a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. But let's not forget who we're going up against. The gentlewoman whose involvement in our police bureau went extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, and I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to quash your case. But I've no doubt that you pair will put up a good fight, right to the last. Best of luck. Thank you. Now then. I need you to run an errand at the university at once. There's something I think we may need. Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama. Bow. Defendant Naruhodo. Court recess is over. Please make your way back inside to the courtroom at once. It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's go in there and deal a decisive blow. Before those old fossils know what's hit them. Kazuma? What? Thank you. Really. What for? Well, if you hadn't said you believed in me then, I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now. Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer, and as a friend. Coming from you, that means a lot. I've been found guilty in this trial. He's really gonna give up on his dream of studying abroad. That's the kind of true friend he is. So this isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright then. I'll save the thank yous for after the trial. You can treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria on University Street. With an extra large portion, of course. #22nd November, 12:09 p.m. Supreme Court. of judicature. Courtroom 2. The court hereby resumes the trial of Yunosuke Naruhodo. Prosecutor Auchi, have you managed to subpoena the witness?
Yes, Your Excellency, against all odds. And thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under rather painful scrutiny from the government.
Sorry. Let the government scrutinize. That's their job. That's nothing to worry about.
It's highly unlikely that the good relations we forward with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. Will you still think it's nothing to worry about when the new treaty breaks down our nation founders?
Again, terribly sorry. If the friendship between our nations is really so fragile, then the treaty isn't worth the paper it's written on. We really have nothing to worry about, Yunosuke.
What do you mean?
A secret trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, a bungled investigation, missing witnesses. Is this what our nation's justice system is? Is this the Supreme Court of Japan or of England?
Shut up, you jumped up rookie boy! You and your friends know nothing. Nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with this great world power, we'll become strong. Diplomacy have never been more critical. Steady political maneuvering is what will secure our futures.
I won't deny that I'm no expert. I'm just a student, and one who could arguably study harder too. But standing here now, in our Supreme Court, there's one thing that I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth in its justice system is a country with no future at all. Well said, Yunosuke, despite the wide-eyed look of terror.
You little brats!
Thank you, Counsel. This court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system, and exists solely for the pursuance of truth. With that in mind, this trial will now resume the great witness, taking the stand. The visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Giselle Brett.
Yes. Your Excellency!
Swan Lady.
Well, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentleman to Japan, and from such a distant land.
Tea! Someone bring English tea in England. No discussion take place without tea. Is that true? No idea.
So, could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court?
Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I have been working undercover as the head waiter at La Carnival. Am I true?
Yes, we all know about you already.
Inspector Hosonaga, where are your manners? In England, it's always ladies first. Is that true? No idea. More importantly, a little earlier today you said something to me. You said your powers of observation are the one thing you're sure of. Oh yes. I think I did, didn't I? Yet your description of this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Yunosuke, but powers of observation aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking. Guilty.
So, dear lady, once again, if we may trouble you for your name and occupation, please.
Oh, she's hiding her face.
I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but... What? I guess it has to be translated. The lady says her name is Giselle Brett. She comes from London, England. She's a visiting research student, currently enrolled in UMaine University's medical facility. Oh my, what a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of a delightful language of the British people. I'm afraid I don't understand a word you said, but it was as beautiful as a hummingbird's song. As far as I can tell. The detective is translating her words faithfully enough. Yes, I agree. You obviously do fine in England, Kazuma. Her English doesn't rattle you at all, does it? Nor you. You've clearly been paying attention in your English classes, Yunosuke. The court thanks the beautiful lady for taking the stand. Now, we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Brett. 3 days ago, at the restaurant called La Carnival, a grim murder took place. The court has been led to believe that you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? She says, yes. This could take some time. So even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese? She'd like to apologize for disappearing from the scene. She says that she was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately. Interesting, when you're the one who engineered her escape. I was just following special orders from the Bureau. Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over this photographic print? Seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the time of the scene, could it be that your resplendent eyes caught sight of the wicked perpetrator, perhaps? Apparently, it was very frightening. It was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. Do you mean to say? Yes, it would appear that the lady did witness the crime. The very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood. Order! Order in court! Did you hear that, Your Excellency? Here we have an absolutely conclusive witness statement. Well, looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. Unfortunately, I will have to ask you to formally testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you described. Water, water, water. Okay. Frightening and sorrowful sight. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beef steak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor, and they got into a fierce argument. Then, not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. This is a condemning testimony indeed. No, I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all.
Objection!
Quiet, you filthy wretch. Look at you, you black-hearted blackguard. And look at this snow-white angel. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine those words the court is going to believe. Ugh. You're still making the same mistakes, Yunosuke. You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that. That's the lesson you need to learn. Ugh, but he's so annoying. Of course, I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the two witnesses who testified before and reported back to the Bureau. It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go.
The testimonies of the last two witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so, on the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. As you can see, there's nowhere about her person where she could conceal a firearm. I would think she could hide a gun almost anywhere in that outfit if she wanted to. Unless and until the precise location where the witness is to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Those are the witness's own words on the matter. That's ridiculous. If only I was allowed to lift up her dress, I could prove it. Don't think about doing anything rash, Yunosuke. But I didn't fire the gun I picked up. There must have been another gun there that day. You're right about that. Which means this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we have to prove now. And to do so, we will need to pull her testimony apart. Oh, she did a little smirk there. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. Oh, yes, Your Excellency.